The countdown is on for BET's new daytime series, The Experiment. And if you're wondering what this is all about, well, here's how BET right now is explaining The Experiment to its viewers.
They don't know. They don't know. It's your boy, Brandon Brody. Experiment is brand new. And you never know what celebs might drop by. Rating! Yeah.
And joining us live from Los Angeles is not only the executive producer of The Experiment, but she is the head of her own production company, Chi Group, responsible for such programs as Mystery Diners on Food Network. And we'll break a little news about that program a little later on. We welcome in Jenny Daly. Jenny, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
What's it like 2 hours before your new show begins?
Well, I have to say we're pretty excited about it. We started taping, I'd say, last week. The show pretty much goes directly to air pretty aggressively, kind of from tape to air. And it's one of those shows that, it's exciting because there's a lot of different things involved in it than I think a lot of these, I'd say, viral shows have exhibited.
And it's fair to say that this is not your normal daytime program. It's pretty much tough to classify. You got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Why did you decide to take this show on?
Well, I coined this as, I'd say, a viral variety show, if you kind of in that way, because it's taking kind of the funny stuff that you see that's going on the internet, stuff that people are looking at and just genuinely laughing or being surprised or kind of the awe of what the internet can bring, and then it's also bringing sketch comedy and celebrities to it. So for me as a company, it's a really fun, I would say, show to kind of put together with all the different elements that I've done in my career. It really brings a lot together, and comedy is kind of my driving passion, so it really works well.
This is the first time that BET has tried something new and daring in daytime since 106 & Park over a decade ago. How did this project happen? How did you get to develop it, and then how to get into the hands of BET?
Well, basically, we had a sit-down with Stephen Hill and Charlie, who are running their development, obviously Stephen, the president of the network, and kind of pitched a bigger, broader live show. And with that, it really was, I think, the desire of Stephen to do something that was just brought a ton of different elements together under one roof, so you weren't trying to go piecemeal to different shows in order to get it. So it was kind of more his vision, I would say, to bring something that had a lot of original different pieces that could make this stand out above the fray. Mm-hmm. So that's how it came about, a pitch in a room. And then after that, basically we got all right, let's try and make this show. So we crafted it together. We had kind of went down the path of doing a lot of viral video, color commentary, and it really kind of then broadened into this more, I would say, variety show with viral video, fun comments kind of sprinkled through it.
In addition, you have celebrity interviews, you have some music segments, there's some people on the street originally shot for this, you've got some viewer participation. So how do you put it all together? What do you decide, on a daily basis, this goes in this episode, this goes in that?
Well, it's a lot of work. I mean, we have a whole board where we board out the shows. We put in kind of what's going to make the most entertaining, eclectic show. We put in different third-party pieces that people are creating, like Laugh Mob is one of our contributors. We have Thug Notes as one of our contributors. Kind of already pieces on the internet that have momentum. We're bringing and featuring them, making new pieces. So I would say in crafting the show itself, it kind of just has to all be what's going to make a show the most entertaining, and that's what we're going for. Each episode, we try and feature a celebrity in it. If not a celebrity, a third-party, kind of viral or funny piece that makes for kind of a good viewing entertainment. It's really just kind of picking the best pieces and putting them together.
Mm-hmm. However, you still need to get somebody to bring it all in as a regular presence, and that's your host, Brandon Brody. How'd you find him?
Well, Brandon, interestingly enough, came from 106 & Park. He filled in sometimes, and then he actually was a writer in working with us in the room. And from that, we were trying to figure out and working with, I would say, the young, up-and-coming talent who really speaks to this audience. And Brandon tested for us, and he just did a great job. He's funny. He's a stand-up comic. He really knows how to, kind of just roll with information. And we didn't want your typical host who was reading copy. We really wanted somebody who was could speak to it, could color commentary on it, could flow with guest interviews, who really could just kind of on the just be able to just organically bring the show together, and we didn't want your typical piecemeal show that somebody was reading off of cards, and he really spoke to that.
Mm-hmm. And we will hear and see Mr. Brody at his best in this a little bit later on. I'm sorry, Jenny, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I think it was kind of a really cool experience because it's not something he even intended of having happen, and it's one of those, I would say, like Hollywood moments where he went from, you know, the writer to the host and being put on there. It was really, I think, exciting for all of us to have, knowing that right underneath us was somebody who just was so talented. So it was kind of, for everybody's end, even his, a really great, exciting opportunity.
T Group is the production company that is doing BET's new series, The Experiment, and it begins in about, an hour, almost an hour, 45 minutes from now at 5 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time. Jenny Daly is not only the executive producer of the series, she runs that production company, and it's called T Group. She is the president of the company. She's with us live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Simon Applebaum here with you live from the other coast, New York, studios of Brooklyn Independent Media, the Barclays Center. You have a question or comment for Jenny, give us a call, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. 1 week from today, we will explore a new series premiering later this month on Travel Channel that is the most daring and most interesting, most unique they've ever done. It's called Breaking Borders. It takes a journalist, it takes a cook, and it brings them together in some of the world's most troubled hotspots. Think the Middle East. We'll have the executive producer of the program. His name is Bruce Leonard, and he will join us live a week from today right here on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Jenny, all along, T Group has done mostly weekly series. When you're doing something like this, which is a daily show with a lot of elements, do you do anything special to gear up?
Yeah.
Jenny, can you hear me? Hello? Jenny, you there? All right, let's see if she can, Jenny, let's see if we can get her back on the line. She may have hung up accidentally, and we'll try to get her back on the air. Let me just remind you that The Experiment, that's our program, begins at 5 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time this afternoon on BET. And, of course, BET is available on cable and satellite all over the place. And if you want more details about the program, you go to www.bet.com/experiment. That's www.bet.com/experiment. And among the other shows that T Group does is Mystery Diners. It's the popular series on Food Network that is now occupying 2/3 of their Wednesday primetime schedule. The show runs from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Pacific time, and the original episode runs at 9:30. And the new set of episodes just started last month with some very interesting details. Let me see if Jenny is back on the line with us. Jenny, are you there?
Hey, Simon, I'm back on. Sorry.
That's okay. So, Jenny, when you're gearing up for a daily show, which is very rare for your production company at this time in its existence, how do you gear up? Do you do anything special?
Well, I mean, I started in this kind of world. Like, one of the first shows I ever worked on was actually a show called The X Show, which was on FX years and years ago. And coming from also, I was at E! Entertainment, where we really did a ton of these, like starting up the Daily 10 and whatnot. So for me as a production company, it's really just bringing in the best people who service this specific type of area and making sure that we have somebody who's used to the day-to-day grind. You know, it's building a team. And you have to build a team that knows how to do this, because as a president of the company, I can't be single-handedly doing all of our shows. You know, on top of Mystery Diners, we have a multitude of shows going on across the board on, you know, many networks that we can, you know, rattle off. But it's one of those situations where it's build a team and it will come, I guess, if you will.
We're going to have your host, Brandon, in a moment in a segment. I believe this will be on the first episode. But how do you think he's going to grow in as a host? Where would you like him to, or where would he like to take the show?
Well, I think the greatest thing about him is he really speaks to this audience. He's a young guy with a lot of, like, I think, humor that is relatable. As far as the growth of the show, again, the elements that this show has, I think, is unique to any kind of, like, clip show. Because we have guests on, because we do sketch comedy in it, because we do really, you know, hosting other people's, you know, viral content, it really allows him to be kind of broad in everything that we do. Our goal eventually is to make this show a live, daily show, if that's something that we want to build up to. But where he's at right now, I think it's really just tapping into all areas funny that he could kind of present to BET's audience.
Well, let's check in with Brandon. We're going to take you now to his office at somewhere in, I guess it's in Los Angeles where you do the show. And let's see how he is dealing with life before The Experiment goes on at 5 o'clock on BET. Brandon's got a work ethic as well as a dance ethic, that is for sure. Jenny, let's talk about the other show that is happening right now that you're involved with. That's Mystery Diners on Food Network, and you got some breaking news on that.
Yeah, we just got picked up for another 13 episodes, which is really fun. I mean, we're on about 120 so episodes now, so it's been one of those shows that just keeps going and really bringing a lot of fun, in putting it together.
And you're now about, on Wednesday nights, 2/3 of the way on pulling a Genre Rhymes, where Genre's got all of prime time on ABC. You've got 2/3 of prime time now on Food Network on Wednesdays.
Well, I think it's that show that even in the reruns, it tends to do really well. So they'll stack it, with a couple of reruns, and then we'll get originals that'll air, in our. I think we're in a 9 o'clock slot now. The one good thing about our show is they could put it pretty much anywhere on the lineup, and it tends to do well. So it's a show that shifted from Monday night. Sometimes it's been on Friday night, but it's like the gift that keeps on giving for them.
As I mentioned while you were off, it's on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10, and I believe 9:30 is the original episode. And this year, 2 years plus into its run, there's been some shifting in terms of how this show works. Because it seems that, as noted in the new intro, Charles Stiles, who runs Mystery Diners, the organization that this show came out of, has found that some people are getting wise to what he does.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We've done so many episodes, and Charles is now kind of a familiar face, and a lot of people know this show, especially in the kind of culinary or restaurant industry. So we had to really be a little more aggressive in how we went about, I guess, if you will, capturing, scenarios that go on when the boss isn't around. So it's just being a little more stealth, a little more aggressive about, bringing like PIs on and that kind of thing to get some good storylines and be able to see some action that occurs when the cameras aren't there.
What impact has Mystery Diners had on the restaurant industry? Do they like the fact that people like us get the chance to see where a restaurant goes wrong in terms of either serving customers or quality of food or some of the shenanigans that goes on? Or do they like the fact that, hey, this laundry is being aired and maybe now the restaurant industry as a whole can do something about it?
Well, I think it's been a little bit of both. I think sometimes there's positive, sometimes there's negative. I mean, at the end of the day, anytime you expose something, there's people's reaction, and a lot of times I think the good part about the show is you're taking the bad and taking it away so that good can prevail. So, at the end of the day, yeah, it's definitely been one of those situations where people are not happy with what they see, or situations where, somebody's doing something that's inappropriate. But it's our job to find that and then to make it, basically to rectify it. So I think the end goal is good.
How did you and Charles hook up? How did what he does come into your purview?
Well, I actually was doing a show called Private Chefs of Beverly Hills. And while we were shooting that, somebody led me onto the fact that there's companies that do this mystery shopping, as it's called. And I thought it was really interesting. So I had my development team look for people who ran companies, and Charles came across our door. And Charles, it's kind of a family-run company, actually, so we put him on tape. We put the concept to Food Network. They liked it. We did a pilot, and it kind of went from there. But really, the fact that he did this legitimately, and this is his livelihood, it really made it, this, as somebody like Charles, who's not your typical host, he's not that crazy, loud, big, this is what he does for a living. So I think the authenticity is true to form. But so it was one of those kind of surprising, it just works kind of thing from somebody who really does the doing of this world.
One other Mystery Diners question, Jenny. The first episode of this new batch dealt with a bowling alley, and it dealt specifically with some rowdies who were really upsetting the other customers, and the management, or at least some members of the management, were not doing anything about it. They just let the rowdiness go on. I'm curious whether there's been any reaction from the bowling alley community about that first episode.
No, not really, no. There hasn't been anything aggressively saying, I think it was more of something was going wrong and, figuring something out. But no, we haven't had any backlash from that.
And whether it might encourage more bowling alley people to take, bowling proprietors take action about these people and not let them just upset the customers.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think with anything, every company and everything has its own specific issues. I don't think that's prevalent in every bowling alley. Maybe that one was having issues, and that's why we were there. So I think it's in the particular ones that kind of get focused on.
BET's The Experiment begins in nearly an hour and a half from now, 5 p.m. Eastern and the later Pacific time, same time on BET. We've got Jenny Daly. She is not only the executive producer of the program, she runs her own production company dealing with unscripted TV. It's called T Group, and they do a lot of stuff for a whole variety of networks, including Food Network, True TV, and others. She's live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Simon Applebaum here with you live from New York. A few more minutes with Jenny, so give us a call, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. With all the projects you've got going, how do you balance things out?
It's one of those things where, again, it's building a team. We have a really strong development team. I have a lot of people who are, kind of keeping the ship running. We have series with CW that just was announced. We just did an overall with Jack Osborne, which is really fun. We have other series going on with Lifetime and series going on that we just finished with History and H2 and doing. A broadening across the board. When the bigger you get, the more shows you do. You just have to have a really strong team. And as a mom as well with 2 kids and balancing that, it's a lot of work.
Talk about the CW show. That was announced last week. It's going to be coming on this summer.
Yeah, it's a really fun show that kind of gives the opportunity of, if you are, needing to have certain elements in your life financially kind of paid off, what are you willing to do to get it paid off? And it really kind of tests the social, I think, barometer of what you will do for money in a fun, with some lighthearted way, but also, be careful what your consequences are.
A number of unscripted television companies have made some stabs at scripted TV. Do you see that in your future at all?
The answer is actually yes. We are doing a show that we just sold to a network that is a hybrid, that so brings the semi-scripted into a real people's lives, and it truly is a hybrid type of show. So the answer is yes. We are broadening into that. We're also looking at doing like a mini-series. We have one that's in the making right now, and then I've done features in the past too, and that's something that I have one feature right now that we're presently packaging and putting together.
By the way, the hybrid scripted show, can you tell us where and when?
I cannot. It just is a recent sell to a network that at this point, until they're written, like many shows that go on, as many series I have coming up, I can't announce until the network itself announces it, unfortunately. So I would love to say, but I'm not at liberty to do so.
And in terms of films, is made-for-TV movies a possibility?
The film that I'm working on is one that's based off of a book, Tuscaloosa, and it deals with a lot with racism during the 60s and kind of set in a time period where it was the struggles, and it's a strong, I'd say, indie film that has a really great character-driven piece.
Mm-hmm.
Made for miniseries. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
I think you're just asking me about the TV miniseries, and
right.
The one that I'm looking at is more on the lines of it's actually, we're putting that together now, and it takes place, it's the history of gambling. It comes from where gambling, the genesis of it, not from kind of what we all hear about the typical kind of mafia and opening up Vegas. It really comes from England and how their aristocrats originated it in order to kind of stay alive, afloat, because a lot of them really didn't have any money. And so it's kind of a really interesting storytelling of the genesis of gambling, and then how it migrated to the U.S. and really kind of took over what it is today.
Before we let you go, what do you say to women who want to get involved with television, either in the unscripted field or in scripted or anything else in TV? What do you tell them? How do you think the medium should open their doors more to have more women and women of color in television?
Well, I think in general as a woman, and I'm pretty much, there aren't many single sole owners as far as production companies who are women, and meaning sole owners and who are independent. It's difficult in any world. I think Hollywood is, and breaking in, but as a woman, I really feel it's allowing yourself not to get pigeonholed. If you can, as you hear, a lot of my program is pretty eclectic. I go male, I go female, skewing, kind of programming. It was a clear intention on my end that I didn't want to be thought of, oh, she's a woman, she only does female skewing programming, and just kind of allowing yourself to navigate through the waters as somebody who is, I'm strong, I'm capable, but I'm not a pushover, but I'm not too bitchy that people are like, oh, I can't. It's a fine line, I think, as a woman that you need to really allow yourself to navigate through waters, but also at the same time, I think just be really good at your job, male or female. It doesn't really matter. You just have to be good at it.
And it's nice to zig and zag and not just be penciled into one type of programming.
No, and it's definitely something I didn't want to be categorized. And I think, again, in this industry, it's just, I think balance. It's a balance. And the hard thing about being a woman is then if you want to have a family and be a mom and kids, it's just you have to be able to ensure that you have a lot of support to do it, because it takes a village. It really does. I can understand polygamy sometimes.
The Xperiment. It begins 5 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time this afternoon on BET. In the East Coast, that's nearly an hour and a half from now. Check your local list for where BET is available in your area on cable and satellite. And for more details online, here's where you go, www.bet.com/experiment. That's www.bet.com/experiment. Jenny Daly, head of T Group, thanks again for joining us. All the best with this new premiere, Mystery Diners on Food, which we mentioned is on Wednesday nights, 8 to 10, new episode 9:30. And all the other projects you got. We'd love to have you back. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Great speaking to you. And thank you and everybody. I hope you watch tonight.
All right. We'll give it a go. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Jenny Daly from T Group joining us live from Los Angeles.